Jolan Tru Centurions, and welcome back to another episode of Starfleet Command. I'm Orion Pirates Mod. I'm Fleet Admiral Cherokee, the Dreadnought RS Pugnator, as we get into our campaign against the Hydran Star Kingdom. And last time, I believe we conquered the planet of 213, or at least that occurred recently, which means there is but a single Hydran planet remaining. It is down here, or down here. It's somewhere nearby. Oh, it's right there, next to me. Yeah, the last Hydran planet of 413. This is their final bastion, and it is defended quite heavily with a starbase as well as the planet. However, the Empire defense is only 40, so with that in mind, let's head back home. Main reason I want to go see if there's that. That's exactly what I came here to say. So we managed to pick up an XCB. We have had the rocks for quite some time, so they're a lot of fun. I am a huge fan of them. However, we are going to sort of maneuver around the rest of the Romulan tech tree. This bad boy ought to be ridiculously powerful. However, it's not nearly as flexible in certain regards. It has straightforward I'ma kill you firepower, but it kind of lacks a little bit in terms of let me deal with everything else sorts of firepower. So we're gonna show it off, have a little bit of fun with it today, because we have gone through the Malak class warbird, which is really a King Condor, as well as the rocks quite a few times, and now we get to bring the biggest of wrecking balls. So this is the most firepower, and this should hopefully allow us to quite easily blast our way through. First things first, we're going to set to overload just to see how fast we can actually get this thing running. So the Romulan optimized Condor was able to get itself up to a speed of 14 while overloading all the plasma torpedoes, and we can do 10. Now, the reason why is because the King Condor had an armament of 2 Fs, which cannot overload, 2 S's, and 2 R's. Well, a single R on the Romulan optimized Condor. However, on this one, we have 2 R's and 4 S-type plasma torpedoes, which means our main firepower is kind of ridiculous. However, we're currently squaring off against a light cruiser, a heavy cruiser, and a heavy cruiser, so this ought to be interesting. You are a carrier of some description. I'm going to try and avoid you a little bit and take your... I probably should head in for him. Now, we do not have access to pseudo-frigates anymore, so we can't just suddenly spawn out a whole ton of units that are just going to mob the enemy down quickly. And we're also not quite as fast as the Romulan optimized Condor, but we do have more firepower. Like, at the end of the day, we just do have enough firepower to sledgehammer somebody hard. Although, each point of speed is only a single point of energy now, so we're no longer having to spend the 1.5 that we used to. We're getting shot at a little bit by this light cruiser. I'm going to see if I can't avoid him, because he is, after all, only a heavy war destroyer. I kind of don't want to bother. Oh, but you're going to not give me that choice, are you? See, I want to dive the carrier, because if I can nail the carrier hard enough, then I can potentially... Ooh, I'm not charged. That's a problem. What kind of plasma torpedo do I have? There's an R. We will fire a pseudo-plasma torpedo and immediately begin to break off. We want to get a little bit more distance in before the incoming heavy war destroyer, as well as his escort. And the reason why we're going after this is because his fighters are very dangerous, and we just want to be able to remove him from the equation before things get a little bit too crazy. If we come along here, we'll notice that we didn't actually gain any sort of maneuverability over the Romulan optimized Condor. So we are very, very familiar to what we used to be in. Alright, so we're going to start to slow down so we can start preparing for a duck into cloak. Stand by. He's starting to increase speed, but the timing on this, is going to be incredibly quick. And that, and we're gone. You don't get to touch me. Oh, look at all that firepower. That might have done something had he actually managed to hit me, and he didn't. Dead. That's the firepower we're dealing with here. That right there is the reason why we went and picked this thing up, because we just one-shotted a carrier, a fairly decently sized carrier. Now, we're still a little bit at the mercy of this little guy who's right behind us because he brought a whole ton of fighters, but this is not so bad. So what I want to do is just spend a little time skulking, staying underneath cover to see how much power I have available or need to spend in order to actually charge up a cloak or heavy weapons. Okay, so we are free then. While enveloping plasma torpedoes, we can do a speed of 9. So that's not terrible. He, of course, is going to be able to track us, no problem with this. So we're just going to sort of drop 1 point of speed. We're going to come over here, pick up a point of electronic countermeasures. Now, this is the sort of thing that I was trying to avoid in the last episode, where the enemy was just tracking behind me, because they can hang on top of you, and it becomes a very dangerous position to be in. Yeah, you're under cloak, but are you really well enough protected for what's going on? Or would you rather run away? And my decision in the last episode, I still stand by it. I think running at maximum speed to draw the battle out worked out a little bit better than just trying to skulk and stay low with a little bit of ECM and also sprinting along with some shield and reinforcement to pick up the chip damage. Also, you know, there's a whole ton of fighters all around us, which is a little bit dangerous. I'm going to decloak. We're going to prepare another round of pseudoplasma torpedoes. And I'm going to utilize you. There we go, and that'll influence him to do that. I will then cloak once again, as we'll pull on away. And the goal is going to be just get a little bit of distance, then we'll whip on around, we'll fire all of our plasma torpedoes into him, he'll be dead. At least that's the plan. I don't think the Exile can manage to stand up to the entire firepower of what we can send it his way. So we're just going to wait a little while longer, let him start to accelerate. And he high energy towards me, okay. 2 can play this game, son. I will take you down. Don't even realize it. Oh, actually, I get rid of all plasma torpedoes, and we're about to be in the center of a bit of a star, but we were still coming out of cloak, so that did give us a little bit of protection, and that'll be the end of him. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, so now we're going to just skulk around a little bit more, so we can maintain a speed of about, what, 7-ish? Oh, there goes our buddy. No longer in existence. He could have possibly won, but he did not. So we're just going to spend a little time staying away from him. We've got to wait 3 turns for a charge, so I'm going to actually dump my free mine. So it is a nuclear space mine. Makes it more powerful than the average mine, which is quite nice to hide behind. And that's what I'm going to do for just a little bit. We're going to extend out slightly, and then we'll come back in and we'll attempt to wipe the floor with him. I just need to make sure that's... Okay, it's my D-type plasma torpedoes that are messing with that. I was wondering why I was having arc problem, or vision problems on what I was doing. Alright, so you is not ready. All plasma torpedoes will fire all of that in his direction, and we do need to avoid the nuclear space mine that we deployed. However, that should be exactly what I wanted from him. Good. So we are pulling away and around the mine as we wait for him to come out of, well, come out from underneath the protection of the electronic countermeasure. Wild Weasel. And we'll just arc slowly and gently on in. We'll fire at him and we'll cloak, and he will die before he gets a chance of being able to actually do anything to us. Oh, this is such a powerful and lovely ship. I still would prefer Romulan Optimized Condor because the Romulan Optimized Condor is a more flexible vessel, but this is still just an absurdly strong battering ram. I mean, he's dead. He couldn't even stop us. He's just dead. So we'll come to cloak. And he didn't use our phasers once in that fight. We actually have 8 phaser X's and 2 Gatling phasers to back that up. We are not necessarily a super light phaser boat, especially because they're XI phasers, and the G's is the backup. The G's are always great. Actually, what is the arc on those G's, just so we know? Oh, they're everything except the front, which is a little disappointing. Everything except the front phasers are somewhat, disappointing because you'd like to be able to utilize those as sort of like a forward-firing strafing run pattern, but I suppose you can use them on the back foot, which, if they manage to survive that many enveloping plasma torpedoes, hey, maybe you actually need the back foot. Now, we should be able to wipe out his shuttle that he's going to deploy to attempt to defend against us without too much trouble, although these are Gorn Stardocs, so we will slow down a little bit. Actually, I'm going to also make sure that I'm not that I don't have any points into the point defense system. Now, we're not as tough to just bounce defensive weapons because it takes so much less energy to push us along, even though it's half a point, but so much less energy to push us along. It becomes a little bit more difficult to just slow down in order to get huge reserves of power. There's that, and it's dead. Well, barely, it's dead. We really are not a phaser boat by any stretch of the imagination. And we'll just cruise on down to a stop, wait for that thing to stop emitting, and once it does, here comes the plasma, and that's... Oh yes, the amount of damage that we can deal. Wow, it would. How many of these? 3 of them. 3 of our S-type plasma torpedoes were not even used to destroy that starbase. That is just, we are insanely strong. Now we could have done the exact same thing with our with the Malak class warbird, and probably something very similar with the Romulan Optimized Condor. I mean, it still has a fairly significant amount of firepower, but the way that we can just utilize this is hilarious to me. So each of our plasma S's deals 30 damage, each of our plasma R's deals 50 damage, so we've got 160 damage, which all can enveloping plasma torpedo overload. So what we can actually do is a grand total of 160 times 2 is 320 damage in one salvo. Now that is spread across the entire unit, however, that is still a fairly significant amount of firepower. Got it. We do not have a lot of phaser firepower, but just enough in order to take him down. So we'll wait for the attack ship to go away, and then we'll deal with him in short order as we do, because this ship is fairly ridiculously powerful. Oh yes, all the plasma. Alright, lovely, and on to, of course, the last one, where we're basically going to do the exact same thing. Now, I'm going to be honest, the actual design of this ship, and I'm going to do an extra 360, it seems a little bit basic. I actually want to know what you think. There are about 80 or 90 people who watch this series pretty regularly, which is really cool. From when we started, which was like less than 10 viewers, now we're up to 90 on this game, and this game came out in 2001, so you guys are badasses. But I am wondering, do we want to maybe swap out the model for something else? Mainly because I've just gotten so enthusiastic about swapping models out lately for a totally unrelated and undisclosed reason. You can't make me admit to what is going on. But if we... Just wondering if other people might have an idea if we want to swap out the design of this ship. It's not bad. It really isn't. It's not like the King Condor. The King Condor had to change. It's a hideous, ugly beast because the model is super old. Whereas this is a fairly sleek and cool looking model anyway. But it's not... Well, it doesn't make me go, oh my god, that's an amazing looking ship. It makes me go, oh my god, that's a pretty cool, okay looking ship. So, solid. And we're going to be in this for at least 4 episodes, probably, at the very least. We have to knock out this planet and then do a little bit of a zip run around to wipe out the remainder of the actual defenses. I believe there will be 1 more set of space stations, and then just mostly empty space. Maybe 2 sets of space stations. Successful 450 prestige will leave and then immediately return because we need to bring all that firepower that we have with us. Yeah, this might actually be... There might be a station down here, but if there is, then it's not going to last long. We could do a surprise reverse, but surprise reverses are terrible for plasma races, even though we have reached the point where it is just easy peasy. So instead, we're just going to throw ourselves into another one of these overload all weapon systems. The thing that really hurts us on just generating tons of power is those phaser banks. I would wonder what would happen if I removed all the phasers and just, you know, give me another S-type plasma torpedo or 2, because we might use them more often. Anyway, we're being escorted today by the IKV Dream Slayer, so working with the Klingons, as well as the RS Flammapena, so working with ourselves. So apparently the Klingons are giving us a little bit of additional supplies on this mission, and then we brought a random destroyer. We're squaring off against a heavy cruiser, a frigate, and a heavy cruiser. Now the frigate is a Merv frigate, and how do I know that? Because he's got... Oh, no, he's not. Never mind. I thought for a second that he was a frigate, but in fact, he is an Andromedan. So they're working with the Andromedans. They have signed a devil's bargain, a desperate struggle to attempt to survive, and we're just going to wipe you out in basically one salvo. Although you might be more powerful. I'm not really sure which was the RQs or the LBXs. Oh, LB capital X, duh. Let's be intelligent about this. An RRQ is just basically an RRQ, or IRQ small x is an IRQ just with X-type phasers on it, which, you know, that's cool and all, but it's not the same thing as a ship that's been fully redesigned for it like this guy will be. So I'm going to leap on over and try and go after him, although if you just keep coming at me, I'm going to have no choice here. I'm going to have to turn, I'm going to have to shoot you down. And there's nothing that can be done about this. Although, I do need to spend a little bit of time waiting in order for my plasma torpedoes to actually be ready. A lot of long-range fire. A lot of long-range fire. Just try to nail us on this one. We're going to prepare and fire our pseudo-plasma torpedo. So that will freak you out, and you'll have to immediately respond to it, or you'll die. After all, what could it possibly be? Well, we know what he thinks it's going to be. And there's his crash stop right there. Took him a little bit to actually commit to it, but now we're going... Oop, wrong button. We're going to swing on back around, utilizing our plasma torpedoes for a beautiful assault move, and he'll start to accelerate soon. I'm going to duck underneath these fighters, if at all possible, and undercloak just in time. You cannot touch me. They fired all of those Gatling phasers and accomplished nothing. We come out of cloak on this one. We're getting ready. Now this is going to be a couple of phaser 3s, which I'm not super worried about, but then I'm going to duck immediately once again. We're going to maintain our speed of 9 because... Actually, no, we need to slow down very little bit. And there goes the first one. Alright, so his advanced fighters are dead, and all of his weapon systems. He basically had everything the IRQ had, except he also had fusion cannons to go with it. So this has been helpful. Now we just need to, you know, skulk around the edge of a battlefield, wait for things to sort themselves out, as apparently they're going to try and kill the Dream Slayer, which works out great for us. Looks like the Andromedan's basically getting the crap kicked out of him because he can't actually prevent the plasma torpedoes. Andromedans normally don't have wild missiles, and it looks like he's just getting mauled. This IRQX, on the other hand, the Dream Slayer doesn't really stand half a chance if he doesn't have a cloaking device, although it looks like we're getting the support frigates coming from the other one. And there goes our friend, and actually, where did he go? There he is. Yeah, so it's probably the Flammapena's pseudo-frigates. So we're just going to buy ourselves some time here. I'm going to drop another nuclear space mine because it's free, and that'll give me a little bit more room in order to maneuver around and away from him. Because I just need, you know, a turn and a half in order to get these plasma torpedoes ready to go. If he does run away from us and tries to engage the Flammapena, then that's perfectly fine. Because at the end of the day, the Flammapena is not going to be all that super useful in, you know, winning the war. So we're going to start to decloak. And because the reason we're decloaking is I want to get a little bit more speed on this one. So we'll accelerate somewhat and prepare our plasma torpedoes for he's shot down most of the pseudo-frigates from the Flammapena, but that's kind of to be expected. The INTs are not particularly good pseudo-frigates. They're incredibly vulnerable to fire, and, you know, he's got quite a bit of it to hand out. Alright, give him a pseudo-torpedo. So he can deal with that. Looks like he's managed to destroy the Andromedan ship, and this plasma torpedo doesn't have a great angle on him, so I may have to fire again at him. But if he continues to zip along, then... Nope, there's his crash stop. He is predictable as he is stupid. So we'll start to slow down a little bit and prepare to basically just, well, annihilate him before he can do anything. Don't even need to get any closer because we don't have any F-type plasma torpedoes. So really our effective range is 10 or 15 or something like that, where we do maximum damage, which is a lot of fun. We do need to be worried, though, a little bit about firing too early, as you'll notice his little tiny shuttle is coming our way, which means it's not going to have an extra long distance to travel, which allows us to shoot early, but that'll be just fine. We'll wait until it fully wears off, and then we'll just fire into the back of him. And there's a difference. And you're dead now, sir. I'll drop in a cloak just out of habit, just to make sure that we keep that skill up, because it's an important skill to keep used to. And he's dead. Lovely. Decloak, maximize speed of time. We are going to try and annihilate these Stardogs in somewhat short order. I think we could pull it off. We kind of have demonstrated that we are more than capable of annihilating these things without so much as a scratch. And you'll notice again, despite being fired at by all of those Hellbores, they only dented my aft shields. Nothing else really took all that much damage. Although we were able to basically not get shot at for most of it. So that helped out a little bit. Let's kick the speed up rather significantly so we can go cruising on forward, utilizing most of our power, although we might get some savings back. Maybe not, because we don't have any Fs. So, no, it doesn't look like it. So this is sort of our maximum speed, a speed of 27, while overloading all the plasma torpedoes. It is a little bit slower than you might otherwise want. After all, who doesn't want to be able to travel at 31 while having all weapons charged? But it'll work for us, because if you're running away, you're probably not going to need it, although that does preclude us from being able to do things like we did in the last episode, where we basically ran away to maximum speed while charging all weapons. So we're going to have to rely a little more heavily on our cloaking device on this one. So we will just make sure that we get ourselves into range. We'll lob a fake plasma torpedo their way, shoot it down. We have seen this before, and it works out beautifully. Just because the AI will respond to any incoming plasma torpedo like that. To be fair, if he's wrong, he really can't afford to be. So fire that, and there your shuttle is. Your shuttle is dead. And now we'll just slowly trickle on down to a stop. Wait for the shuttle to flash away. This will drop down to 2. And once the attack shift is down to a 2, we strike. Nuclear space mine has exploded, but that's okay. We didn't need it nor want it anyway. So maximum speed of the vessel once more, and we'll just zip on over to number 2. Looks like the Flamma Pennant doesn't appear to be all that interested in actually getting involved in the combat, which is somewhat disappointing. You'd think a little bit more of an aggressive spirit on, you know, our frigate war destroyers would be super nice to have, but I guess he's just not all about that life. He's a bit of a pacifist, so perhaps he should be removed from command of his vessel. I want aggressive and powerful captains, not somebody who's just going to whimper and run away at the first sign of actual danger. Fire that. Target that. There we go, got that. 3, 2, 1, and fire those. Lovely. On to the last one. See if he's actually going to get involved before this actually ends. Now, we could, at this point, afford 2 more heavy bombardment cruisers. I'm not sure if we want to do that, but if you want to see that, leave it in the comments down below so I can actually see it. Or, you know, hop on over to our Discord and you can mention to us there in the Starfleet Command channel. Always looking for input on that sort of part of the series. Okay, we will be starting our next campaign probably sometime, if not this week, then likely next week. There's not really a whole many more strong points left for the enemy to try and hold on to. So it should be relatively easy to get this all sorted out soon. I do have a bit of a modification that I will probably be making to the ISC playthrough, just for a little bit more fun, and hopefully you will all enjoy it. So firing all those fake funds. Oh, you're on top of it. That's going to complicate things just a little bit. You don't? Barely already utilized them, so he's dead now. And we did open up, and the Flamma Pennant was revealed, but who cares? That's fine. We'll cloak and disappear. After all, we no longer need to actually be engaged in this area. We shall cloak and warp away as we do. So not too terrible pulled off all around. This is an extremely powerful vessel, and we are able to extremely easily cut our way through basically everything. So that has helped rather considerably. He's down to an Empire defense of 30, and we just need to start getting a couple more fun little cruiser missions in. Oh, there isn't. So this is the last bastion of the entirety of the Hydran Star Kingdom. The moment we take this, it's just going to be smooth sailing to clear out the rest of the map. And in fact, it may even happen by virtue of just, you know, friendly vessels doing it for us. So we're definitely Oh, we are so close to the end of this campaign. But in any event, that's going to do it for today's episode. I have been Tarek. If you like what you've been seeing, hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to receive notifications every time there's one of these videos, press that little bell icon, leave a comment, and maybe stop by for our streams on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock over on twitch.tv/Tarek117. Sometimes we run long. In fact, Saturday's stream most recently, we went for 3.5 hours, and if we're really kind of feeling it, we just keep on going because it is a lot of fun. We play a game called Rogue Tech, which is, Battletech on the computer, which is fantastic. So if you enjoyed this series, you'll probably like that one too. And I will see you all in the next episode.